Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm James Shu, and I'll be your host for today's session, Unify and Modernize Storage and Backup Oversight. This is a joint webinar presented by Ionos Cloud and Bocada. We've got a packed 45 minutes for you, so let's dive right in. I'd like to start by introducing today's speakers. We've got a fantastic group joining us today. First, we have Matt Hall, CEO of Bocada. Matt leads Bocada's mission to modernize data protection oversight through AI-powered monitoring and brings prior leadership experience at Amazon. Next, meet Amy Winkleman, Head of Product at Bocada. Amy built Bocada Cloud from the ground up and leads product for both the cloud and enterprise platforms. She'll be walking us through the Bocada demo today. Also, joining us today is Alessandro Izzo, Cloud Sales US Manager at Ionos. Alessandro leads the US cloud sales team out of Philadelphia and focuses on secure, scalable cloud adoption and partner ecosystems. He'll be showing us the Ionos Cloud side of the equation. Great to have all three of you here. Let's set the stage for why we're here today. Here's what we'll cover today. We'll start by discussing the challenge, why traditional approaches to storage and backup monitoring are breaking down for a lot of organizations. From there, we'll move into live demos by Bocada and Ionos. We'll wrap up with limited time offers that are exclusive to today's attendees and then open it up for Q&A. A quick housekeeping note, please drop your questions in the questions panel at any time. We'll collect them throughout and address as many as we can at the end. So, why are we here? If you're managing backup and storage infrastructure today, especially across multiple clients, clouds, or vendors, you're probably dealing with at least one of these pain points on this slide. Siloed tools, one dashboard for backup, another for storage, maybe a third for cloud environment. Nothing talks to each other, and that makes for a lot of frustration and inability to manage the entire environment efficiently. Manual checks, daily log reviews, spreadsheet tracking, manual ticket creation. These routines eat up hours and they don't scale. Reactive alerts, you're finding out about problems after they've already impacted an SLA or a customer. And capacity and cost blind spots. Storage keeps growing, cloud bills keep climbing, and you don't have clear visibility into the trends. So here's the big picture of how Ionos and Bocada solve this together. Think of it as a three-stage pipeline. On the left, Ionos Object Storage, your S3 compatible cloud storage layer. Scalable, cost-effective with data centers in both the US and Europe. In the middle, Bocada provides real-time monitoring, reporting, and alerting across your entire backup and storage environment. Not just Ionos, but all of your infrastructure. The result is what you actually want: proactive operations and automated workflows, unified visibility, proactive alerting before things break, automated reporting that saves your team hours every day, and multi-provider support so you're not locked into any single vendor's view of the world. Now, let's see this in action. Matt, I'm going to hand it over to you to tell us more about Bocada.
Great, thanks, James. I'm going to take the share here. Okay, great. So as this title slide says, Bocada is in the business of providing AI-powered storage and data protection monitoring. What we typically hear from prospective customers in terms of the problems that they're trying to solve fit into these three categories. First one is around cyber resilience. How do I know that everything in my environment or the environments that I'm responsible for is protected and has a successful backup and is recoverable? The second one is around centralization and automation. So our customers are looking to eliminate low value and error-prone manual activities and see all of their data in one dashboard. And then finally is around compliance or SLA fire drills, which means customers struggle to generate compliance or SLA reports. It's hard, sometimes it's impossible, and it's always disruptive to their operations. So let's look at and talk a little bit about how we're solving some of these problems. So as a starting point, Bocada provides a centralized infrastructure-wide monitoring, reporting, and workflow automation platform. What we're doing is we're connecting to a range of data sources often through APIs, sometimes through direct database connections, to collect detailed data from cloud backup tools, on-prem backup tools, endpoint backup applications, asset inventory databases, and storage devices. We ingest that data, we normalize it across all of the different tools that we support, and then we build workflow automations to offer our customers AI-assisted backup and storage monitoring, compliance and audit reporting, identification of unprotected assets or audits, automated ticketing and AI remediation capabilities, and immutability, encryption, and anomaly detection for security protocols. So let's talk a little bit about some of the examples of how we're addressing the common challenges that we talked about in the last slide. So the first one is around unprotected resource audit. So what is an unprotected resource audit? What does this mean? What this means for us is that we're using two distinct data sets. In one case, we're using an inventory data set. So that could be a CMDB, a vCenter, your AWS resource libraries, etc. And then the second one is we're looking at backup applications. So whatever you're using for backup, whether it's NetBackup or Veeam, Commvault or Rubrik, we're going to use that information, and we're comparing the two on a constant and continuous basis to identify things that are unprotected, so things that have no backups. But sometimes we're also identifying things that are not listed in inventory resources. So we'll see backups for things that don't exist. In either case, what we're doing is we're providing effectively a real-time automated audit tool for our customers to be able to identify protected and unprotected resources. This is what it looks like in the product. You'll see it when Amy goes through the demo. Another area that we deliver on is around cloud storage cost reporting in this example. So cloud storage reporting and cost reporting is a big driver of customer demand. So what we're providing is, again, regular visibility to spend. Our customers use that to identify and allocate cost and chargebacks for their customers or their end users, departments, whatever it might be. Trend analysis, right? So it's a quick visualization of, is my storage cost growing or going down? Is it doing what I expect it to be doing? And then some detail, right? So oftentimes when things vary from expectations, the next question is, well, why? And so we give customers the ability to drill down and identify some of that distinct usage data that's driving their cost. So overall, we're providing a very flexible way for customers to see their data, and again, centralized across all data sources in a single dashboard capability. The next area is around automation that we wanted to talk about. So we automate ticketing and AI remediation. On the left here, you can see some of the ticketing applications that we support. We have threshold-driven triggers. So typically what this means for a backup and storage administrator is tell me when I have 3 consecutive failed backups and open a ticket in my PSA or in my ticketing system. We think of this as an intelligent ticketing capability. So we append tickets with new failures rather than opening a new ticket every time there's a failed job, for example. We also have the ability to set it so that if there is a successful run after a ticket has been opened, we can automatically close the ticket. So that you have your 3 consecutive backups overnight, then there's a successful one before the day starts. The ticket's already closed before the administrators come into work the next day. The other area is around AI and remediation. So we have built-in and native AI capabilities. You see here in the image is an example of AI missed backups. So we're constantly analyzing the data using AI engines to determine if things are running the way that they're supposed to be running. And then when they don't, of course, we also offer the ability to grab an error message, so failed backup jobs as an example, put it into our AI engine. So this is integrated directly into the product, and it will give you reasons for why it's happening and suggest some ways to overcome those issues. So in this case, just directly copied the failure message and asked what's going on, and you get a result right in line and gives you the ability to go take care of those issues very quickly. So overall, what we think about here is we're future-proofing the storage and data protection function, right? So all of the different data protection and storage solutions that we cover means that our customers can see consistently across all of their tools what's going on in their environments and quickly build compliance reports and deliver on automation requirements of their organization. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Amy, who's going to now walk through the product in a bit more detail so you can see exactly how it works.
Over here. All right. So as Matt and James talked about, they sort of teed me up perfectly. I'm going to go through a quick run through of Bocada Cloud, the backup and storage monitoring and reporting capabilities. When you log into Bocada Cloud, you're going to land on the main dashboard. The main dashboard is a summary across what we call all of your organizations. So the data in your account is segmented by the different organizations you're looking across. If you're an MSP, that might be your customers. So you can see the data segmented by an individual customer, or if you are a small, medium business or an enterprise and you have multiple departments, divisions, geographic locations with different backup and storage associated with them, you can again organize and segment the data by organizations. So the main dashboard, highly configurable. You can move these widgets around. You can adjust them. You can see various pieces of information. It's really designed to be a jumping off point and a way to understand what's going on in the environment that I'm monitoring. So for example, you can see your backup and successes over the last 24 hours, the storage you're utilizing, some storage growth trends. As Matt talked about, your unprotected, how many resources. Again, we use the word resource to indicate what's being backed up, a VM, a server, etc., or an endpoint like an M365 mailbox. You can see your alerts. And again, as we have AI integrated throughout the product as well. So I'm going to go ahead and say, all right, I'm thinking about one of my customers. I'm thinking about Blue Fire Dental. I'm talking to them later today. I'm an MSP. What's going on with them? Okay, I've got some failures. It looks like I've got a couple of VM failures in the last 24 hours I need to take a look at. I can go into the detail log. I can see information about what might be happening. Sometimes the message, the error message from Veeam or from whatever backup product you're using is a little unclear. So we have that built-in AI analysis. I did this morning. I looked at this one. It took a look at the backup job, went through all of the information that we have in Bocada and analyzed it, provided some interpretation and troubleshooting for how you could remediate that problem. So that's an example of one of the ways you can quickly dig into what you're looking for. But really, in addition to the monitoring and always checking and helping you sort of single pane of glass across all your backup tools and your storage, how did all of this come in? How did this all get populated? You got to start by adding what we call connections. So as Matt showed, there's a variety of different third-party tools we support. We're neutral. So whichever tools your organization chooses to use or your customers' organizations, you can take a look at them by storage, backup. We've got Ionos here, and we're Ionos webinar, as well as your inventory tools. And essentially, most of these are API connections. As Matt said, some are direct database links, like in the case of Veeam. Enter your information, connect, and then the data starts being collected. It's collected every hour, constantly pulling in data to populate all of your reports. So let's take a look at one of the reports that we really love. I mean, we've got a lot of standard reports here. They're very configurable, very customizable, so that you can create exactly the report you want. But one of my favorites is the job trends report. So this is, again, your backups and looking across, in this case, the last 7 days. what's happening. Here are all my different customers. As I mentioned, Blue Fire Dental. I'm interested in what's going on with them. These are the connections. Or why don't I go ahead and edit and just take a look at them? I'll isolate them so it's a little easier to see. So these are the different backup tools being used by my customer. And I want to drill into maybe a specific one. I know my Veeam connection there is the backups from Veeam have been troublesome. As you can see, some of these red, what you want to show is something like Azure where everything is green. So again, you want to be able to go in and know how to remediate and get those so they're looking, so everything looks green. If it's yellow, it's a partial. So what it's telling you is that most of those backups were great, but a couple of them failed. Take a look at those and again, take action. You can organize this report or any of the reports, and then you have a lot of choices. Again, in addition to editing the criteria of the report, you can save it as a new report. So manipulate the data however you like, and then save it as a new report. You can export it to HTML. Many of our reports both are Excel and HTML. In the case of HTML reports, I really like them because they actually function when they're offline. So you can send this report, distribute it as an attachment on a regular basis. I'll show you how to do that. But I can also, search any of these columns to take a look at a particular resource in this case. So it's kind of fun. And you can also put your own logo so that the reports come through with your logo on them. So as I mentioned, distribution. Okay, so it said, all right, you've changed this standard report. So I'm going to say this is my Blue Fire job trends report. And I'm going to save it. Now I've got that in my library right here. This is the report we just played with. Now I want to distribute it. And it's going to distribute as HTML. I can put all the different emails of my customers or maybe my key stakeholders in my organization. And I can choose to, how often I want that to be distributed, on what basis, and it'll come through like that. So that's a way to sort of play with reports, dig into data. We have, again, a variety of reports. An executive summary is another good example where you can look across all of your customers. See, again, I can isolate Blue Fire if I wanted to. And maybe this is a report I send on a weekly basis or monthly basis. I'm doing pretty well here. I've got a over 92% success rate with backups, and they can take a look at this over time. Again, you can look at the last month, the last few days, every week, and again, same idea. You can distribute this automatically to get it over to your stakeholders. Okay, the resource audit report was something, an unprotected resource auditing that Matt mentioned. As you can take a look down here, if we wanted to look at our resource audit report, it's pulling in everything from your inventory, matching it to see is there backup activity for all of the resources and what's unprotected. And so I can see a lot of resources here where it says it's in my inventory, but I haven't detected any backup activity for the last 31 days. What's going on? Sometimes that might be it's a test machine. It's a dev machine that you're not backing up. There's no need for it. It could be that in that way you could ignore it. For example, if you said, we're not backing this one up on purpose. If it's not, it's a way to flag it. So if one of your customers has a machine that suddenly something has changed, they've made a change and it's no longer backing up, it's a way for you to understand that and again, take action. I'm going to show, since we're in an Ionos webinar, I want to show the storage reports. So let me go over to storage here. So the first one of those is our utilization report. You can take, again, look at the different storage tools. In this case, we've got one customer using one storage tool. We've got Blue Fire Dental using Ionos. And I can look and see just very quickly at the storage device level. I can look at the trend of one of them. You can see this is probably not very representative. This is demo data. I'm sure most of you have more than 5 gigabytes of storage in your storage environment, but you could get the idea. So I could look at it at the device level, or I could drill down, just like any of our reports. You can get down into a greater level of detail and look at the storage unit itself. I can see that my cohesity backups are causing that object is really a lot more growth. And so is that a good thing? Is that expected? Or is that some kind of anomaly that I need to deal with? And again, I can take a look at any of these and look at the trend chart over time. It also provides a little bit of a forecast. So based on this history, it kind of went up last night. It looks like it's probably forecasted this way. And then as Matt mentioned, we have a cost report. So I can take a look at, in this case, we're looking at Azure and AWS. We are bringing in Ionos costs. That's coming in the next 30 days. So you'll be able to understand your storage Ionos costs as well. But I could take a look at any of these. Again, it's probably best to look at this over a monthly period rather than a daily period and see variations. So let's take a look at, that's just a one-time one. That's probably a new one. I'll pick something else. Here we go. That's a little bit, so I've got my costs were and then suddenly had a huge spike in February. They've come down a little bit in April. Again, these costs are very small with the demo data that we have. But you can get the idea of being able to really manage your costs a lot more at a more granular level to understand what is driving the costs you have. What we've heard from our customers is that this is hard to find in AWS and hard to find in Azure. So by pulling this in, normalizing the data, and giving you that ability to kind of look across quickly to be able to understand what's happening in your environment is really beneficial to them. Matt mentioned a lot about automation and really matching your workflow to save you time. So one of those things is, alerts, email notifications. So I can set up a variety of different email notifications to let me know when certain things are happening. We really like to focus folks on ticketing integrations. You probably wouldn't have 5 different ticketing platforms, but this just gives an example. We have a multiple API-based integrations with ticketing platforms. If you have a homegrown ticketing system or a ticketing system that's maybe not, is a small ticketing system that we don't currently support, you can also use email to ticket. So our custom notification function, you can open tickets in your, let's say, your homegrown ticketing system through that SMTP approach. The API-based ticketing integrations have a greater level of functionality, as Matt mentioned. Not only open a ticket, but update an open ticket with subsequent failures of, let's say, backup job failures, or auto close the ticket. So it failed 3 times, but on the 4th attempt, it succeeded. Automatically close that ticket, saves you time not having to deal with it. We also, with the API-based ticketing integrations, have multi-tenant capabilities. So in the case of Halo, pulling in your customer tenants or your organizational tenants from Halo and matching them with the organizations in Bocada Cloud so that the tickets automatically are sort of associated with that tenant. Again, just streamlining the workflow on your PSA side. And if I want to play around with a ticket, let's see, I've got one. I think I like this one better, actually, this top one. I wanted to have, let's say, I want to open a ticket for any of my customers, any of my organizations. When a backup job fails 3 times, I can group tickets however I like. Depends on depends on your workflow and who you have in your organization handling these incidents. And then you can also create static fields, or not create them. We pull in static fields from, in this case, Halo. What are those ticketing data fields? You may have required fields that need to be auto-populated in order for the ticket to be created. So you can set that up as well. Bocada Cloud will auto-populate those static fields in the ticket. The ticket's created and it's on its way to being dealt with. Lots of different other functions here. I'm looking at the time. Again, with organizations and users, you can set up your organizations however you like. In this case, it's an MSP demo, so I've got all of my individual organizations underneath my parent entity, or your divisions or departments or locations. And then with users, we have a variety of user roles. So we have various security settings for logging in to protect the data within Bocada Cloud, so SSO, 2FA, those kinds of things. So it's really secure when people log in, and making sure that the data is secure. And the users that you add, you can give them a variety of roles, whether that's the highest level, super administrator, or you may want to give one of your key stakeholders view-only access. And you only want to give them access. So let's say my Blue Fire Dental customer doesn't want email. They don't like a lot of email. They just want, give me a link and let me log in and look and see what's going on. So you could say, all right, I'm just going to create you as a user, add in their email address, their name, sends them an email, they click a link, create a password, and then when they log in, they're going to land on the dashboard, but they're going to land on the Blue Fire Dental dashboard. They will only be able to see Blue Fire Dental related or information. So this is kind of a way, some of our MSP customers have put this as sort of a premium option for their customers. It's like, you can go see all of your data yourself if you like. You can look at the dashboard, you can have reports, you can go look at reports. We save and customize for you. We can push reports to you. It's just another option for whether or not people want email push to them, or they want to do more of a pull self-service approach. Matt, James, anything I missed that I should talk about? Maybe backup health, or anything you'd like me to add before I move on to the Ionos demo?
You're good.
All right. Go ahead, Matt.
Great.
Okay. I'm happy to show anything else during the Q&A, so please let me know, and I'll go ahead and stop share and hand it over to Alessandro.
Thank you very much. Here we are. I think, thank you very much, James. So yes, the Ionos object storage. This is something quite important to have something to observe or to monitor in the Bocada solution. Maybe first a few words about us, about Ionos, who we are. So we have actually over 8 million customers that we are caring for. Ionos is originally a European-based company, especially we are from Germany, with over 25 years of expertise. That means we have quite a lot of things accomplished in the future. In the past, German problems. And what I can tell you is that we are having with our data center designer several options to manage. On one hand, we have infrastructure as a service. We are offering different platform as a service products and several, I would say, storage products. And one of them, as mentioned before, is the object storage. The good thing about the object storage is S3 compatible. That means you can use it with almost every tool that comes into your mind that is compatible to, for example, the AWS S3 object storage. So that means if you're, for example, using Veeam as a backup solution or Acronis, it's totally fine. You can easily connect that with our object storage and use it for your backups. That said, we are also offering a wide variety of different data centers throughout the US, but also throughout Europe. That means you can even host your storage in different countries for a real geo-redundant solution, but also just in the US and in our data center for the object storage. So what I will show you today is how you can actually set up the object storage. That means to show you how you can find your keys, how you can set up the different buckets, and maybe talk a little bit about some limitations, but it might be the easiest way to share view of my screen and tell you how everything works. So now you should see my screen here. So first of all, if you are logging in or if you want to deploy an object storage at the Ionos Cloud platform, first of all, you need to log in at your account under dcd.ionos.com. At Ionos Cloud, on the Ionos Cloud homepage, you can actually register for your account, and dcd.ionos.com is a page where you can log in to your DCD, aka Data Center Designer. And after logging in, you see this beautiful dashboard over here. And what is on first hand very interesting for you in this case is the option here, storage and backup. What else you see here is for virtual data centers. As I mentioned before, we also have a wide variety offering of infrastructure as a service services. But the storage and backup here now is the one we are focusing on. If you, by the way, have any more questions, deeper questions about everything here, feel free to reach out to us. We are always willing to help you out. And whoever is registering here for the object storage gets a personal account manager to cover all your questions and all your needs. So to deploy the object storage, you here click simply on Ionos Object Storage. After that, you have an overview of your buckets. So what we can see here, it's just one bucket. That's the one I created in advance to have one here to see actually something in the dashboard. And you have the key management. But simply start with the buckets. We create a bucket. And this is also quite easy because you have here different data center locations for the buckets themselves. So right now we have a few ones in Germany, one in Spain, and we have one in Lenexa. And this is also one of our latest, I would say, object storage products. They have these so-called contract-owned buckets are quite better in performance than the user-owned buckets. And on the other hand, they are visible for every user of your data center designer. That means if you are working in a team and your team is taking care of backups or stuff like that, you can grant permission to all of your team members or to a set amount of team members, to specific people, to actually administrate or maintain these buckets. So that means here, these contract-owned buckets means that every user of your contract is able to work, if needed, with your object storage. So let's just choose the US one here in Lenexa, and then we give it a name. Let's say, we call it Bocada Monitoring. And then we have another option over here. This is the object log. So I can tell, never use it if you not really need it. That means if you have data that needs to be stored for a specific amount of time under the warm directive, that means write once, read many, then just don't do it. If you need to store data because of, I would say, governmental laws or stuff like that, you can use it. And then this data that you are putting into the object storage, into the bucket, this data can't be erased for a set amount of time and can't be changed for a set amount of time. So ever before using it, thinking about if you really need it, it's like we say here, for regulatory compliance and legal needs. So in that case, for the demo, just let that unused, and then we create the bucket. And what it shows here is quite an interface where you can upload objects. You can create folders if needed. Usually you can do that by code or with different tools like CyberDuck, for example. That's one of the tools with a graphic user interface where you can also put your object storage into the file system of your computer. But here in that case, we focus on the settings because this might be very interesting for you if you actually need to migrate from another provider to the Ionos object storage, because there's one option you need to activate quite early. So first of all, here again, you have the bucket name, you have the region, and you have the endpoint URL. That's the first important thing you need. You may know it from different other providers. That's the first thing you need to connect it to your tools. Clicking further, that's the object log. So we didn't enable it. That's good. And here we have the replication. Replication is made now for so in case you're looking at this, it's made now for the user-owned buckets because they are differently set up. So we don't use that one right now. But if you want to replicate your data from, for example, an AWS object storage, there are tools for that, and you can use the versioning then. You need to enable the versioning to make sure that you can actually migrate the data from another provider to this bucket on the Ionos object storage. You also have different options to add lifecycle rules. Just to show you a few of these ones. For example, expire current version or permanently delete non-current version of objects. So you can care for everything that is in your object storage to keep it clean and tidy it up. What else you can do is what I mentioned before is the access management. So here you can give some, you can enter a JSON policy here, but you can also delete them. So that means whatever you put in form of JSON policies, you can save them anytime, you can delete them anytime. So, and this is what it's everything you can do here to grant controls or access to other users. Here it's an easy access control list. That's quite for every user in the DCD itself. So you have the opportunity to put in different users or user groups. And this is how you can give them read or write rights. That's quite interesting because, as I said, if you have different teams working on the same DCD, but not all of them are allowed to manage several buckets, you can work with this one here to set the rights for them. We have a locking function. This is also not for the contract-owned buckets because we have here different options for that, and a cross-origin resource sharing option. But the most important thing here is the bucket properties. It's the ones you have here with the endpoint URL. It's the versioning that this is enabled, and also the lifetime and access control lists. So what more do you need to actually connect your object storage to different tools, for example, to a backup tool like Veeam? You can, or you need to use here the key management. So that means, so since this is just a demo account, it's no problem that you can see my keys at all. So here we have different types of identifiers. You will need them for the user-owned and for the contract-owned buckets. We are now talking about the contract-owned buckets. Here are the identifiers. And if you need a key, you can generate a key very easily. It generates your key, and you see here creation date is today. You open up the drop-down, and then you see the secret key, the access key. You can directly copy it out of the DCD here, and you can turn it active. You can activate it or deactivate it if needed, and you can also delete it. So this is everything you need actually to connect your object storage to different tools. One thing I can show you, because talking about Veeam, you have a link on our dashboard here. You can view the documentation. If you click on the documentation, you will be referred to our documentation. And there you have the option to browse through different topics. Also for all the tools we have, the services. There's also a topic about object storage here. If you don't want to browse through all these links, you can just type in questions here and it gives you the answers. So I did this in advance to show you something you might need. And this is how to connect Veeam with my Ionos object storage. And then it gives you the direct answer how to connect it with Veeam. As I said, access key and secret key are needed. The endpoint is needed. And if you want to dig deeper in this whole thing, you can just click here on the Veeam and backup replication. And then it gives you I would say, step-by-step introduction how to use the Ionos object storage with your Veeam. If you already use it with S3 object storage, you might be familiar with it, how to use it. So it's almost the same procedure. So if you have, as I said before, if you have any more questions or want to have a deep dive into the Data Center Designer, just reach out to us. We can give you a fully packed demo with everything you want to see there. And yeah, it's easy like that.
Thank you, Alessandro. Let me quickly change our screen, and we will be moving into the Q&A portion. But actually, before we do so, we wanted to share as a thank you for joining us today 2 exclusive offers that we're offering to our attendees. So 2 different offers. First, if you subscribe to any paid Bocada Cloud plan, you'll get 90 free days of Ionos S3 compatible object storage. That's up to a 1,500 USD dollar value. And it works the other way too. If you create your Ionos object storage account, you get 90 free days of Bocada Cloud's Ultimate plan. That's the full advanced storage and backup monitoring package. So to redeem either offer, just mention it to your Bocada or Ionos sales or onboarding specialist. All right, let's open it up for questions. I see we do have a few questions. I think first one, Amy, this might be good for you. What is the most common reaction you hear from customers when they first see all of their backup and storage data in one place?
I would say happy surprise. They are used to typically logging into multiple applications. I talk to IT folks that have 4 monitors, different applications on every monitor, and they're switching back and forth. So when they can see everything in that single pane of glass idea, they're really excited to be able, they just typically say, oh, this is so much easier. So that's the reaction we always want to get, is this is easier, this is faster. That's what we're all about, is helping them improve their workflow so they can focus their time and attention on more important things.
Perfect, that makes a lot of sense. We have another question here. Alessandro, this one's for you. For folks considering Ionos who are coming from AWS S3 or Azure Blob, how smooth is that migration typically?
Oh, actually, that's a good question. Thank you very much, James. So I might underline that with another screen share too, because that might shows it the easiest way. So actually, to migrate from any other provider, that's cool, because I can show you something here. So you can go again into the documentation, and this is quite your little helper in that case. First of all, I can tell you there are different tools, but if you are wondering how can I do that, you can just type it in here. For example, how can I migrate from AWS object storage to Ionos object storage, and type enter. And so you don't need to browse through all the documentation, and then it gives you a few options. And then it tells you something about our clone, for example. But we also have another tool. So here you get the path how to migrate from AWS to the object storage in Ionos. So this is what you can do here. But on the other hand, so you can use our clone, but you can also use the AWS CLI also for replicas. If you want to have replications from you, and if you want to keep, because we are always promoting also a hybrid cloud or multi-cloud models, you can also keep your provider right now and replicate all the data in it in these buckets into the Ionos object storage. So it's quite easy. But it also gives you the option to get some more information about this. So if we go down here and look it up in object storage, go here, cloud object storage, and then it gives you here that part with the S3 tools. That's quite interesting, because the most important thing in that case to migrate data from one object storage provider to the other object storage provider is in AWS cases, I would say use the AWS CLI. There it gives you different things to do, for example, the replication, and then it gives you here step-by-step ways how to do that. But also, if you want to use other things here, it gives you like everything you need to know. But on the other hand, we have the rclone, and I'm a big fan of rclone because rclone is like the tool that almost everyone is using for stuff like this. And there you also have different commands. It shows you how everything works out with it. So I would suggest whenever cloud provider you use rclone. and use our documentation to get some more information about this. If you need more insights about that, also in migration, just give us a heads up. We can support you also with the migration of the object storage. There's no problem. We have a professional services team behind us that is always willing to jump into a meeting with you guys and support you with the migration.
Perfect. Thank you, Alessandro, for that. And great questions, everyone. So thank you for those. And a big thank you today to Matt, Amy, and Alessandro for a fantastic session. In closing, don't forget those time-limited offers, 90 free days of Ionos Object Storage with a paid Bocada plan, or 90 free days of Bocada Cloud's Ultimate plan with an Ionos storage account. Just mention it to your sales or onboarding contact to redeem that offer. Again, if you have any follow-up questions after today, reach out to us at the email addresses shown here on the slide. We'd love to continue the conversation with you. Thanks again for your time today, and enjoy the rest of your day.